How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean, by providence impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar? The $10 founding father without a father got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter. By 14, they placed him in charge of a trading charter.
And every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away across the waves, he struggled and kept his guard up. Inside he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter.
Then a hurricane came and devastation reigned. Our man saw his future dripping down.
Good evening, everyone. This is Tamara Osborne, and tonight we are going to talk about one of my favorite men in history, which is Alexander Hamilton. I fell in love with Alexander Hamilton because of a little known Broadway show written by Lin-Manuel Miranda called Hamilton, the Revolution. And while I've never been lucky enough to go to New York to see the show, nor could afford tickets to go to the show, and when it comes to Charlotte, to Blumenthal, I do regularly listen to the soundtrack and find it very interesting that something like this has brought together many generations through rap and different kinds of music to like a founding father and like history, which is so cool to me. So, in getting started to learn about Alexander Hamilton, here to talk about him, we literally could have like 12 videos, but I'm just going to hit some highlights about him and his life and how him being a founding father um, changed the course of history for our country. So he was born January 11th, 1775, and died July 12th, 1804. We'll get to his death in just a little bit because that in itself is pretty interesting. He is best known for establishing, he was U.S. Secretary of Treasury under George Washington, and while he held that position, he is best known for establishing the National Bank, which was not favored by Thomas Jefferson, and they had many back and forths about that. And then also the U.S. Mint, and he established taxation on whiskey, which I'm sure was not popular. It's not popular today that we have a taxation on liquor. And then he also did the report on manufacturers, which Alexander Hamilton was very interested in the industrialization of America and not just the farming and land ownership of the, what were now states and no longer colonies. So, like I said, he was considered a founding father. He was born out of wedlock in Charlestown, Nevins, which is in the Leeward Islands in the West Indies. So he wasn't even technically born in the continental United States. But after his mother died and he was orphaned, some wealthy merchants saw that, hey, this dude's pretty smart. Let's sponsor him and send him to New York City to get an education. So they sent him to New York City, and he studied at King's College, which is now Columbia University. And from there, the Revolutionary War was starting, so he became a captain in the militia. He quickly moved up ranks to captain and then caught the attention of a certain gentleman by the name of George Washington, who, as we all know, was over the George Washington was over the army for the America And of course, we went on to win the Revolutionary War. But Alexander Hamilton was his senior aide in that during that time. And then after that, he went on to write 51 of the 85 Federalist Papers, which he was a nationalist. And after George Washington became president and the Constitution had, gone into effect and the Bill of Rights were written, as a nationalist, he also strictly believed in the implied powers of the presidency, not just the expressed powers listed in Article 2 of the Constitution, and tried to use that to persuade George Washington with different acts that he did throughout his presidency. As he wrote the Federalist Papers, he became instrumental in creating the Federalist Party, which gave America a two-party system. So at the time, it was the Federalists and the Republicans. And with that, he played a major part in the Jay Treaty, which restored issues with Great Britain and kind of finalized all of that, things that weren't finalized since the Treaty of Paris was signed in 1783. So as he went on through life and was instrumental in being a founding father and did all of these great things, as we come to the end of his life, a really big election came up, and that was the election between Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr. And that was the first time that we had pretty much a tie. They were tied for the presidency. And even though Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson did not get along and did not agree, Jefferson was considered a Republican and Alexander Hamilton a Federalist. Alexander Hamilton really did not like Aaron Burr. And because of that, Alexander Hamilton really went out and campaigned for Thomas Jefferson to win the presidency, and that did not please Aaron Burr very much. And then later in 1804, Aaron Burr decided he was going to run for a position and he was running for governor of New York, and Alexander Hamilton did not want Aaron Burr to be the governor, so he went out opposing him and basically trash talking him and saying that he was unworthy of the position. And because of that, Aaron Burr was like, hey, well then I'm going to challenge you to a duel. And Hamilton agreed to it, and they had a duel, and Hamilton was mortally wounded and died the following day. And that is how we lost Alexander Hamilton. Aaron Burr shot and killed him. So one of the things that I found interesting about Alexander Hamilton that I did not know until the Broadway play Hamilton, and I really started to become more interested in him, was that Hamilton was involved in America's first public sex scandal. And while he was treasurer, he was having an affair with a woman with the last name Reynolds. And her husband knew about the affair and was fine with the affair, because he then decided, hey, I'm going to blackmail Hamilton because he's this prominent figure, and you go ahead and have your affair, but I'm going to get some money out of this. And the issue came about with the fact that a lot of people didn't believe that Hamilton was paying this Reynolds guy with his own money. They thought that he was paying it with Treasury money. So then that would be, really bad. And the extortion itself was bad. The affair was bad. The whole situation was bad. But so he was involved in the first public sex scandal. And Hamilton thought that by coming out to the American people and writing this long letter, that he was doing the right thing, and really he just kind of exposed everything and himself to a misfortunate situation. So that was something that I thought was pretty interesting that I did not know about Hamilton. I knew the the big highlights: Treasury, um, establishing U.S. Mint, and National Bank, and all that, but I did not know a lot about his personal life. So the only artifact that I could find is one that we've all seen, but a lot of people might not even realize this is him. So this is the founding father of the $10, Alexander Hamilton, on the $10 bill. So that's my artifact. Let's see, that's him on there with Hamilton down at the bottom, which is, we owe a lot to him as far as being a founding father. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope everybody has a great night. Thanks.
Just you wait.